Hi guys, I have a book here today called I Am Amelia Earhart. For Lila, my daughter, who makes me feel like I'm soaring. For Audra, my life, my co-pilot, my hero. I am Amelia Earhart. When I was little, people told me that girls should wear dresses and play with dolls. They said we shouldn't have unladylike adventures. I didn't agree. In fact, when I was 7 years old, my sister and I decided to build our very own roller coaster in our backyard. We placed two planks of wood up against the side of our tool shed. And then the little kid in the picture says, "Grandma's not gonna like this." See the building? The cab was a wooden packing box with roller skate wheels attached to the bottom. We greased the wood with lard so that we would move super fast. And then the little kid says, "Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea?" And she said, "This isn't a good idea, it's the best idea." Of course, I got to ride first. This was my moment. Here we go in 3, 2, 1. I still remember the wind in my face. My stomach seemed to sink. I was flying. The crash was loud and noisy and messy, and it certainly wasn't ladylike, but it was awesome. And then you see Grandma. "Amelia Earhart, take it apart this instant." Grandma's super mad at her. Oh no. It wasn't the last time that I would fly. As I got older, I went to go to many air shows. When I was 23 years old, but still a kid at heart, my dad took me to meet Frank Hawks, a man who would eventually set many of his own flight records. For $10, Hawks agreed to take me on my very first flight. For 10 minutes we flew through the sky and out over the Pacific Ocean. By the time I was 200 or 300 feet off the ground, I knew one thing: I had to fly. To save up for my flying lessons, I worked as a truck driver, which wasn't ladylike either. Stenographer, which is a fancy-schmancy word for someone who writes down what people say. And even a photographer. 6 months after I learned how to fly, I bought a bright yellow used biplane that I named Canary. Canary is a cool name for a plane, right? And my instructor was a woman named Netta Snook. That's her real name. But here's the secret. I wasn't a natural. I wasn't the best pilot. I just worked harder than anybody else. More important, like that day on the roller coaster, I dared to do what so many said that could not be done. A girl flying across the Atlantic? Amelia, are you sure this is a good idea? Amelia says, this isn't a good idea, it's the best idea. I became the very first woman to fly across the Atlantic Ocean, and then the first woman to fly by myself across the Atlantic. Back then, people took boats to get to Europe, sailing for weeks. Planes were still a relatively new thing. In fact, on the day that I took off, one magazine ran an article that said women would never be able to fly that far. But I did. To do it, I had to fly for 14 hours and 56 minutes with no rest and no break. Sometimes the sun was so blinding that I could barely see where I was going. In the process, I also broke the record for crossing the ocean in the shortest amount of time, doing it faster than any man or any woman had ever done. In October 1922, I broke the women's altitude record by rising to 14,000 feet. And in July 1930, I set a speed record of over 181 miles per hour. Then, I broke an altitude record, which is just a fancy schmancy way of saying I went higher than anyone else. How high did I go? About 12 Empire State Buildings stacked straight up, at a time when no woman had ever gone that high. In my life, I took many flights. Every single time there was someone who said that I would not be able to do it. Never let anyone stop you. Whatever your dream is, chase it. Work hard for it. You will find it. It is the best lesson that I can give you. I am Amelia Earhart. I know no bounds, and I hope that you'll remember that the greatest flight you'll ever take is the one that no one has tried before. That's her there. That's the real Amelia Earhart. Never interrupt someone doing what you said couldn't be done. That was a quote from Amelia Earhart. Here's some more pictures. That's her. The end. Bye.